Good morning. This is Matt. I joined the call.
Hey, Matt.
Hi, Tina. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you
See
doing?
if I'm doing very well. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Good to meet you as well. Thanks for doing this. Matt,
Of course.
I am looking for your and I apologize, I just flew into town last night, so I'm a little disheveled this morning. I'm looking for
Understood.
your
I just
bio.
woke up an hour ago, so I'm disheveled.
Mona did send over to me your bio, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking for that. Just a moment there.
Sure. Let me go ahead and get my video started so you can see my face with my voice.
Yeah, I'll probably turn mine off when we get started for real.
Oh, it says I'm not allowed to do that. You cannot start your video because the host has stopped it. All
I
right.
got the same message. Sorry, guys.
Morning, Mona.
Hey.
Thanks for trading messages with me this morning as we were getting everything aligned.
Yeah, of course. Hopefully
Good
everything goes really smooth.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward
Try
to
it
it.
now. I've got you guys as co-hosts.
Okay.
You should be able to. There you go.
There we are.
Wonderful. Let me arrange here so it looks like I'm actually functioning. Okay. As far as the run of the show goes, I know Mona and I were kind of trading back and forth around our slides. Tina, is it right for me to assume that you are setting us up and then you'll kind of pass the baton and allow us to take charge in this?
That is the plan. We will as soon as I find your bio. Moto, do you mind just shooting it to the top of my email? I've got, if you got it handy.
Pulling it up right now. Let's see.
I've got a mix of emails from you from both this and then the Pride event. And now I will tell you, attendees may jump in ahead of time. We didn't have this one set up before. We do the ones going forward, where I have to allow people to come in. So I'll be managing that. I'll manage the Q&A that come through. So you don't have to worry about that. You can just keep your focus on the presentation and not have to worry about what's going on below the screen.
Okay. As far as the Q&A, are we saving everything till the end?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, otherwise it gets out of control.
And how many attendees are we anticipating today?
Never know. We had, for example, yesterday we had 250 that said they were coming. No, I'm sorry, we had 450 that said they were coming, and 53 came.
Okay.
So you never know. But what we do is we do record them all and then post them on our webinars page for people to go back and review or view for the first time. And I do get asked. And that started because people were asking, hey, what happened? Can I get a brief on what happened on the thing? So,
certainly. After you introduce it, do you want me, I know my bio will be up, do you want me to do an introduction of myself? I imagine Mona will do the same.
It is your show.
Oh, don't say that.
Your show. Hang on, let's see here. Okay. Hang on, let me jot something down real quick and then I'll.
Mona, when I pass to you, is there any, because it's kind of a segue from security into, I guess, the trusted advisor kind of piece. Is there anything you want me to kind of, say to kind of cue you up, or just kind of do a hard pass?
You can, because at the end when I go through my slides, I actually have a slide where it just talks a little bit about me. It's just like my picture and stuff. But you can just say that you work side by side with me, and then I'll go over my introductory or whatever at the end. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. That's fine by me. I just want to make sure you are, getting what you needed set up.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Thank you for asking.
Good. Of course.
For the folks who do attend, I'm happy to pass on their contact information because that's what this game is all about.
That would be awesome. Thank you, Tina.
Yeah, I will say probably a little bit behind because we are working on your other giant event that you guys are sponsoring. Thank you for that.
Of course.
Matt, I'm not sure if you know what's going on there, but we are working on a two-city event, 10 different musical acts on one night to celebrate awesome LGBT Pride Month.
Wonderful.
So it's between two music cities, Austin and Nashville. And it has been a fast moving train to get this thing going. We came up with the idea about probably 6 weeks ago. So that was the first company that we called, being that you all have a massive footprint in both Austin and Nashville. And yeah, the team was like an immediate, yeah, we want to do this.
How difficult has it been to secure some of those musical acts given all that's kind of going on?
It was a little bit difficult in the sense that we had. I mean, they weren't so bad to get, but it was harder.
Sure.
It was harder to get the venues because they were all concerned about the COVID restrictions. So some venues were like, yes, come on in. Other venues were like, no, not at all. And we were just coming in with, the bands would set up and then they would leave. Then the camera guys would come in and they'd set up their cameras, and their cameras were actually working on remote. So they weren't even in the building at the same time. So it was more the venues that were problematic. And then some had, union stipulations where you can only use union crews in there.
Certainly.
So we had to pass on some venues because we just didn't have the time for all that.
No, it just sounds like it's a race to get it all squared away. So congrats on getting it going.
It's been a giant race.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so your videos are, so what I'll do is when it starts like this, I'll pop up your, you should be able to see my screen, yeah?
Yes.
And then it'll go to full screen. And then I'll just kind of follow along with what you're saying and run through your slides. And
Okay.
if you want to be control of your slides, you can do that too. But
doesn't matter. I will happily say next slide, please, or something like that. We can shuffle through. It's easy. I appreciate you doing that. Thank you. And I don't know if you got a chance to take a look at our content, but I kind of focus on, I know I kind of put it there in the first slide, but like trends. I do want to talk about kind of like the effect of like COVID and quarantine on web traffic, and then also just security threats out there in a remote environment and kind of some things to kind of protect against. So overarching, some very, pertinent information, but kind of segmented to that. I want to make sure I'm getting at any points or questions that we might come up with, I think, ahead of time. Do you anticipate anything, I might need to address or focus on specifically?
I'm pretty decent at tossing out kind of the softball questions should none come through. And I'm just trying to think through what I've heard from some of our members. Most of them are really good at their craft, right? Maybe they are, I don't know, make up a profession, but they're good at whatever the profession is, but they're not good at this part of it.
Sure.
At understanding what it means that you just don't come home and open your laptop and start working. Right.
Yeah, a lot of the content I have is very, and it designed it this way, very much kind of a universal, like informational. So it is just kind of like walk away with, a few bullet points or a few thoughts of just remember these X, Y, and Z type things, and you should be practicing good behavior and you'd be fine. But I didn't want to get too in the weeds with a lot of technical stuff. Just didn't know the audience, and I didn't really want to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. Most of the time it's the average business owner who's just trying to get it figured out. But yeah, these are hit or miss. Sometimes it might seem like there's a couple online, but there's always rewatches that happen.
Not a problem.
I think this is probably, since the shutdown, we are probably hovering around our 70th webinar. So our content's pretty deep.
No wonder you're like, whatever, we'll get in there. Don't worry about it.
No, we've got this.
I have, I'm sure you both are the same way. I basically wake up and put this headset on, and it sits on my head for like 9 hours a day. That I'm pretty sure when this is all over, I'm going to have this weird indentation in my hair and head for the rest of my life.
No doubt.
Same. So I switched over to the plug-in.
The earbuds.
Yeah.
I'm going to step away for a moment, go get a glass of water.
Okay.
I'm actually going to do the same and get some fresh coffee. I'll be right back. I need it.
my. Mona, are you still there?
Hey, Tina, sorry, I'm still here.
Am I going to destroy your last name, Besliaga?
That's close enough. That's good.
No, what is it?
It's Beschlaga, but I know it doesn't read that way, so it's yeah, it's totally fine to pronounce it that way.
Got it.
And Tina, are you going to send over a copy of this recorded webinar when we're done?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, give us like a couple of days to get it squared away and packaged up and sent over.
Okay.
Matt's back on. Sorry, had to get some coffee. What nationality or heritage is Beschlaga, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm from Romania.
Okay. Okay.
Where are we? 954. Well, your room is so clean. I'm
It's
bothered.
the only part. It's the only part you can see, though. You don't know what's behind me.
Everybody's doing that, though. They're positioning their cameras oh so specifically to hide the mess.
Yeah, I'm hiding the dogs back there and everything else, so we're good.
I mean, I've got this wall of craziness going on. My COVID hair is out of control.
Oh, I haven't gotten a haircut yet, and I have like this hockey mullet thing going on in the back.
Yeah, no, you can't talk about hair.
I'm actually holding out. I've never grown my hair this long. I've always been a
Really?
very tight haircut, and this is the first time, and I'm almost kind of at that point of like, I think I'm just going to push through and just see how weird this can get.
See if you can pull it off, yeah?
I know I won't. I know I won't. I just want to see what it looks like.
Yeah, I'm overseeing what this looks like. There's no.
See, I didn't notice it until you pointed it out, Tina, so that's on you.
I mean, the sun will come out tomorrow. Hello. What's going on here? Yeah. That's right. That's so when the show starts, so to speak, I'll turn over to our logo.
There you go.
That reminds me of what was that? The Superman show. Lois. He always had that specific little hair right in the middle. See, it could have been intentional.
Yeah, I don't have Mona's hair. As a kid, I always wanted that beautiful long straight hair. I got this craziness.
I'll let it fool you. I definitely dyed. It's full of grays.
Can't see them.
Had to revert to an at-home salon with everything.
I'm just laughing because at-home hygiene and kind of self-care has taken like a whole new meaning. I'm like, I don't know how to do any of this. I have people that do things for me.
Same. I actually had a few glasses of wine and I started watching YouTube videos on how to cut my own hair, and it didn't turn out too well for a while there, so I had to get it fixed.
Yeah, there should be just like an automatic block on your internet browser anytime you say at-home haircut. It should be like, no!
Yeah, exactly. Or when it hears like a bottle of wine popped open, like, nope, no at-home anything right now.
I've seen similar to the backgrounds. I have seen so many like in like a bottle or a glass or something in people's videos. I'm like, oh, a little home drinking today. I see.
The new normal.
Yeah, well, at least on Dell calls it is. I can't speak for everybody.
Now, Matt, where are you out of?
I'm in Austin.
Oh, okay. And then Mona, you're here too, yeah?
No, I'm in Nashville.
No, you're in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I've actually I've seen your name many times, Mona, but now I see the face with it. And I come in, Tina, just for your information, I used to travel between the sites quite a bit, at least once or twice a month occasionally.
Yeah, I know. I've seen your trainings. You come to Nashville and do trainings for like ISRs, LORs, and all that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to say, I actually used to be an ISR, LOR, then a coach. So yeah, I've seen like all your trainings, getting the reps in there.
Yeah, it's fun repeating myself 800 times.
Right.
This is why we put it on video. That way we can just play it over and over and
That's
over.
true. Yeah.
Come on, Tina, don't take this away from me. This is my job.
That's true. I'll hit you up every 6 months for new content.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I don't know what the weather is in Nashville, but we just got hit in Austin with like a major thunderstorm this morning. It's supposed to rain like the next like 4 days. Oh, so as well, okay.
Yeah, it's really weird because as far apart as Nashville and Austin are, it seems like almost like our weather is identical all the time. Like the very few times you guys got snow, we got snow. I was like, that's so weird. Yeah.
The one thing I will say, and this is me being weird, or just kind of for my information, I think Nashville is on the same like growth line as far as like where vegetables and trees and like plant lines grow to where you guys can grow like Japanese cherry blossom trees because you are in that line. And I know they have them at the airport. I see them around the sea when I go. I'm like, that is so pretty.
Yeah, they're everywhere. They don't smell great, but they are everywhere.
Yeah, but when they blossom and they get all like, it looks like snow, and it's just it's very pretty.
It is. It's beautiful. My whole neighborhood is actually covered in those. Nice.
We'll also put out a replay of this on our newsletter.
Oh, nice.
In our newsletter, and our newsletter reach is pretty significant. Obviously not as large as yours, but ours is very targeted. And then it will we'll just continue to push it on social media as reminders of, hey, did you miss it? Go see it. So don't panic if there's not a truckload of panel of attendees on there. Okay. Although you are blessed that Mr. Rich Siegel just joined us. Rich is one of our past board members. He is currently our chair of our Health and Wellness Committee, which is a new focus for this chamber. And he is a semi-retired, I think. I think he still does a little bit of work, but you might know him here locally, Matt, from TV. He's been the Austin's weatherman for years. So today's a perfect day to be talking about the weather like we were just a moment ago.
Well, should I just turn it over to him so I don't sound like an idiot? Can we get the big board behind me and I'll just start pointing?
Rich, I just opened up your mic so you can say hello and let them hear that delicious voice of yours.
Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing on this wonderful rainy morning? It's been great.
Yep.
Good morning, Rich.
Any rain in June, July, and August is a blessing. Even if it did wake me up.
Yeah.
In the world of meteorology and weather patterns, are there superstitions or things that you collectively believe or kind of anecdotes that you hold with these things in certain seasons? Because I'm fascinated by this stuff. Like more rain in this will lead to this or whatever.
Well, I can't think of one right off.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But, I'm sure that over the course of many years of having done this, I did it for 43 years. I probably did have some, but right now I can't think of any. I'll get back to you. How's
That's fair. I put you on the spot. I apologize.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Listen, that's.
Oops, sorry about that. Rich, I'm going to mute you. I'm going to get our video recording started here in a moment. And so we'll have to act like grown-ups for a second. As the recording is started. Christopher Vaughn, thank you for joining the call. And if you should have to drop off for any, well, I'll make that announcement when it's live. Hang on. Hello, folks, and thank you very much for joining our Zoom meeting today. We have a pretty heavy topic to go through on what you need to know about cybersecurity. I think that is even more important in this day and age. My name is Tina Cannon. I am suffering from COVID here, so you're going to see my beautiful logo up on the screen. But joining me today is Mona Bishlaga from Dell out of their Nashville office. And Matt Pappendorf, if I destroyed your last name, I probably should have checked that first. But Matt's been their OEM brand manager for Dell Security for the last 5 years. He's the guy that you want to call when the proverbial stuff hits the fan. And so let's we'll hear from Matt about what he's learned in his past 5 years, being the internal project management teams and his track record of improving knowledge and sales support at Dell Security in particular. We'll go through a couple slides. If you have questions, please submit them on the Q&A. I'm sure everybody has been through a Zoom call 38 times a week, so the logistics aren't as necessary as they were in the past. So I'll let Matt jump in, and in the meantime, I'll get your screen share started.
Excellent. Tina, thank you for the warm introduction. And just to note, you did get my last name correct. So thank you for that. It's not the easiest. And then just to kind of build on that introduction a little bit, I appreciate the handoff again. I've been at Dell 5 years, and internally it is my job to make sure the sales reps within our Dell organization are knowledgeable around the security on the PCs that they are selling to all of our customers. It is one of Dell's initiatives to make sure that not only all their customers are protected from their out-of-the-box experience with their PCs, but that our systems themselves are some of the most secure on, I guess, in the industry. And that being said, I have the pleasure and kindness to work with all of those teams to keep them up to date on a lot of different trends in the industry, as well as things to be mindful of when they talk to their customers, as well as just some bits and pieces in regards to the security landscape as a whole. So with that said, I'm going to take some of that information, I'm going to kind of disseminate it down into a nice presentation for you guys. Tina, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, please.
Sure. Sorry for the technical issue there.
No, not a problem.
Technical issue there.
We'll kind of jump in a little bit here before the slide comes, but 4 main areas I will be discussing before I pass it off to Mona. Again, she's an advisor at Dell. We work hand in hand, so I will do my piece and then transition to hers. But I'm going to kind of talk about a little bit about trends in cybersecurity, where they currently stand today. I have to address the elephant in the room. We're going to talk a little bit about COVID-19 and its effect on technology, the landscape, how it affects a lot of us as we are now working remotely. And then I want to kind of dive in and talk about the remote working environment, common hacking and security threats that we typically see in a remote work environment. And then just a touch point on safeguarding your online privacy and kind of wrapping it up on what to expect and how to have a clean bill of health when it comes to your online security.
Are y'all seeing my screen?
We are not.
Sorry, I'm sitting here thinking that you were just all fine. You could see my.
No, I'm reading off my separate deck.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Can you see my screen now?
Can.
Okay. So you're seeing the deck there, yeah?
Yes, ma'am. Great.
Sharing paused. Why does it say paused? And not seeing the deck now, right?
I do see the deck. I see
Okay.
the current trends in cybersecurity slide. Is that the one you meant to be in?
Is that the one you meant me to be on?
Sure. Let's keep going. All right. So as I kind of spoke to this a little bit with the trends, I just really want to take a touch point, and I think a lot of folks in general, and I'm just speaking at large, a lot of folks in general, they tend to think of cybersecurity or threats at a more personal level in the way that they digest technology, the way that they interact. So it is very much an individual approach as opposed to a global or kind of community approach. And over the past couple years, what we really need to start understanding with just this environment that we exist in is we are a part of something, and these larger entities that we exist in are also targets of threats and hacking. And again, I'm speaking at large to all the different types of ways that hacks can happen, but we tend to think inward. And these are just some headlines. And I really want to just kind of take a droplet and sit there and say, you know, nobody is secure. And when hackers tend to go after large corporations or entities, they're not only going after them, but they're also going after everybody that is a part of that. You can see on the bottom right, kind of in the quadrant there, Amazon, Twitter, Facebook. I mean, these DoorDash, because I now am remote and I have food delivered to my house. So my DoorDash account down there at the bottom is something that I need to be mindful of. These are all things that we exist in, environments that we exist in, and as we interact in them, we need to be aware of the fact that our security, not only with these partners, needs to be secure in a sense, but also that they themselves have to be mindful of security as well. So Again, this is something we all exist in, and it is constantly I mean, I think these, like every other month we'll get a new headline of some kind. So these things consistently come up in the news, and it's definitely a threat we need to be aware of. Next slide, please.
Oops. A little fast on the trigger there, sorry.
It's not popping up, Tina.
Still not popping, you're not seeing it?
No.
I'm not sure what's going on there. Do you see the full slide here?
We see the navigation tools, yes.
Yeah. So something's going on when I'm taking it to the large screen share there.
Well, it's technology. It's not your fault.
I know. Well, the problem is I'm not using a Dell laptop. That's my problem.
I would have never noticed that. I can speak to these slides in this format if that works for you.
Yeah, let me try and make them a little bit bigger so that it
Sure.
fills a little bit. Sorry about that, guys.
No, not a problem. I am flexible. Let me know when you are ready.
Go for it. You go ahead.
All right. So as Tina kind of reorients the slide there, just kind of speaking in, again, to these trends, it's not just what we're seeing with all of these partners that we interact with, but it is also basically our daily usage and how we interact with the environment, as I said. So from 2018 to 2019, we're still gathering 2020 numbers. We're seeing, digital activity continually being one of the major, touchstones in how we interact with technology. I think the big stat to kind of take out of that first piece is 28% of individuals, consumers, day is spent online. I know working from home with Dell, I could probably say 94% of my day is online. But jokes aside, it is staggering to see that the way that we are, utilizing our mobile devices, tablets, computers, phones, we're always connected, we're always existing in this digital environment. And because of that, it's hard to unplug, but we need to be mindful of the fact that we are always plugged in. Because of that, being always plugged in, seeing usage, on the rise across networks and individual usage, internet activity is constantly on the rise. And to use this point, I don't know how it is whenever somebody has a power outage in their home. I know a lot of us here in Austin and in Nashville as well, so it sounds like it's getting a lot of rain, a lot of rough weather the past couple hours. I freak out when my power goes out, but more importantly, I don't have internet activity. And when I'm so connected and I unplug and I'm like, oh, I'll just look something up, and then I forget like a dummy. I'm like, oh no, I need power to go do that. So I'm not only reliant on the internet more than I think I am, but the internet in itself, the environment, the way I connect, it can be a hazardous environment in a sense because I'm so reliant of it. Hackers recognize that, so they create a web of, across all of the internet to take advantage of the fact that we're always plugged in. And because we're always plugged in, I will, kind of speak to the last point again. It's not just my usage, but a lot of my personal information, our personal information, is out there as well. I have a lot of my mobile devices, connected to credit card information, my TSA pre-check, my social security number. A lot of my personal data is linked online through browsers and sites. And because of that, I need to be mindful that what I'm putting out there needs to be protected. Next slide, please. Thank you. And we're just kind of looking here at some of the big five. Sorry, it's a little bit of an eye chart there on the right, but kind of, again, speaking to some of the trends a little bit there. There you go. So as far as what people are saying in the market, and I'll kind of read through some of those because it's kind of hard to see, but people, top 3 perceived worst things that can happen online to people. This is a trend. A lot of the things that people worry about, over 60% across these large nations and the large, most users of web activity, I should say, a lot of it continues to be, personal information. There is that genuine fear out there that in these 3 areas, if they have access to my personal information, they have access to my banking information, they can basically destroy my credit, they can destroy my my savings, they can take apart all kinds of things that I've built up. And then more importantly, surprisingly down at the bottom, still active, but it used to be higher up, is 31% there is PC virus infection. So we do need to be mindful that it's not just our actions online, but it is also what we bring into our PC environment. So we do need to make sure that we have some sort of endpoint antivirus security on there to protect our PC and the technology itself. And then, of course, it's not just what we're doing out there, but it's also our behavior. And I can speak to this in some of the other slides and also from personal experience, but how we manage our passwords, how we behave in public with our digestion of technology, going on public Wi-Fi networks. And again, I'll touch on a lot of these, but we are, sometimes when we don't think, we are creatures of habit, and we do not always continue to be mindful of, using passwords in areas that we shouldn't, or leaving our browsers open so people can glean information from it. So long and short, I think there is reading from the numbers, there is an awareness in the populace to believe that there is a need to be more secure and be mindful of protecting the things that they have. So I'm going to speak to some of that in a few slides. Let me jump into the next one, please. All right, here we go. Jumping into the next slide. How does that affect on where we stand today? I think maybe 6 months ago, I probably would have omitted these 3 slides, but given the fact that, addressing the elephant in the room, we are all remote work employees for most part. We are, existing on this digital space more so than we used to. So a lot of the trends that we are seeing from our security partners here at Dell, no surprise, shift to online work, everybody is using Zoom. I mean, we're on it right now, but everybody had to quickly train how to use certain devices and online workflow procedures to do the job that they used to do now in this environment. This is something that we didn't think of before. And because of that, we need to be mindful of our PCs and our computers to have antivirus protection on it. VPNs, or virtual personal network, those are started to become, trendy. They've always been important, but now that people continue to be on the move, working remotely, specifically at home or from a coffee shop, what have you, these private networks, tend to be a great way to mask the data and actions on your PC from hackers. So we've seen those trends jump up. No surprise, working from home, it's a trend today. So I have some other stats coming, but that is the new environment. And then we've actually seen here at Dell, laptops have peaked dramatically as far as what we are actually selling. Before, we used to sell a lot of desktop machines. It used to be people buying, things for an office environment, so monitors and towers and mice and keyboards and all of those, things that would go to service an office setting. Because their employees are remote, everybody's jumping in and buying a laptop. So there has been a dramatic shift to a more mobile working mindset. Next slide, please. And then just kind of what COVID has done to push our behaviors online. Internet use is up 70%. No surprise, I kind of made the joke earlier about spending 94% of my time online. My entire job exists through the web. So I imagine a lot of people have similar behaviors, and that has made these stats jump. But our hackers that are out there, they're aware of these trends, and they notice that because everybody is online, it is a perfect breeding ground to create havoc. So since March 2020, the first bullet point there, our security partners have identified that just people alone searching online for information on COVID-19, ways to protect themselves and family, trends, and things of that nature, it is ripe for malicious URLs to exist. So people are going to anywhere and everywhere to get information, and unfortunately they're finding themselves sometimes pulling a virus from the site that they're going through. Additionally, as we are using our phones, talking about all of this transition to mobile apps on phones and tablets that we typically would use without fear are starting to become affected as well. So hackers are getting smart as to piggyback on those to create threats in the environment. And then a word down there, Zoom bombing. I didn't know what it was until recently, but apparently now it's a thing, and people can jump in on calls just like this and listen to information that may be pertinent to a business or personal information. If it is a health or wellness call with a doctor, or a banking call where you're sharing vital information around bank accounts, numbers, figures, things like that. So we need to be mindful that even though we are on the web and we are using a video service to communicate with other individuals, that people can be jumping in on those calls as well. So long and short, I know the chart's there, but some of the industry, it's kind of hard to see, but healthcare, banking, education, those tend to be the largest culprits or areas of what hackers are targeting as of right now, as far as URLs and apps to get at individuals and infect them. And that last part in blue, just to kind of summarize there, as we get more savvy with technology, long and short, we need to be more vigilant, because the cyber criminals out there are starting to become much more savvy, and be mindful of the way that we interact as well. And lastly, perfect, I just want to point out that this is not just a United States affected situation. We are definitely one of the hot spots here. This is a kind of a snapshot on where a lot of these web traffic threats and kind of hotspots for that are. But Dell is an international company. We have a lot of employees overseas, in Asia, in Europe, parts of South America. So as we use our media here, and our employees and cohorts in these other regions as well, we need to be mindful of the way we pass information between one another, because there's a dynamic possibility of shifting between the two that could cause an issue. So lastly, not lastly, but this is actually transition, excuse me. Now let's talk about remote working environment and kind of how this is the new reality. So again, pivoting off of those top 5 usage countries, we're starting to get to a point of just looking at the average time spent on an internet device, mobile device, tablet, things like that. So 52% is on desktop, laptop, tablets, and 48% is on mobile. And I really want to highlight that mobile piece, because when we, as one of the things that I always teach the employees here at Dell, is we need to be more mobile minded. And that being is traditionally in the past, and I say that with air quotes, we would buy a computer, we would put protection or antivirus on it, and we would be mindful of the way that we use that device and ensure that anything and all actions on that device would be protected. But now that we are moving towards our phones and our tablets, and the way that those have become basically virtual wallets for us, we haven't translated in the same mindset, the same level or need of security from device to device, even though we may be doing so much more with that mobile device than we did with our PC. It's just the security piece has not been pulled over. So that being said, next slide, please. Continue with the remote trends. 52% of employees, and this is again pulled from our security partner, work from home at least 1 day a week. I think as of right now, 100% in most cases are that number. I know for a fact that I'm a remote employee, so I can speak to the reality of it being a much higher number. But just looking at the United States alone, we have just under 5 million employees that are working remotely, and we see that continuing to grow since 2005, and by 2020, I anticipate, at least at Dell, we're even talking about continuing our remote employee program to where we may have, majority of our company be remote employees, even after all of the COVID-19 pandemic. So long and short, this remote environment is not going to go away, and that is existent not only in the United States, but also with our global partners as well. So what does that mean for you? So as a user, thank you for all of the back and forth there. There are 5 simple ways when we are remote employees, whether we are working at home, whether we are working in maybe a coffee shop or an airport. I'll give some examples. These are 5 kind of major threat environments that exist out there that to be mindful of as we are sharing and accessing web environments. And we'll run through these, and it should hopefully by the end teach you not only what's out there, but how to be a little bit more mindful of what you're doing. So first one, please. This one is called a man-in-the-middle attack, and it is almost in the example of what it is. It's in and of itself is self-explanatory. So long and short, what it does is a third party basically will intercept the data between two sources, like the image there. So a user for myself, like in this example, pretend I don't know anything about security, I will access a public Wi-Fi. And in this example, I will use maybe an airport. And what that may be is I am flight to flight, I land Austin to Dallas, maybe I'm going to Chicago to visit my family. I land in Dallas and I'm frantically trying to get to my next flight because of behind time. And like a dummy, I did not download my second ticket. So I am running through the gates and I'm trying to quickly on my phone access my ticket and download it. And I quickly just jump on a public airport Wi-Fi. And I am pulling all of my information and trying to get my credit card information, my TSA pre-check information, all of that personal data that the airline would have. I am accessing and downloading my boarding pass through that public Wi-Fi. A hacker known as the man in the middle, what they're basically doing is they are watching all of that information being transferred between the two because of that unsecure public Wi-Fi, and they are basically seeing all of the activity that I am doing on my mobile device, and I'm not being mindful in that moment and monitoring my password and things like that. So they're able to capture all of that. So it's kind of a long-winded way of basically saying, hey, don't do that. So as a user, what can you do? So obviously in my case, download my boarding pass first so I don't look like a fool. But more importantly, don't access public Wi-Fi environments without having some sort of security in place. You'll hear the virtual private network or virtual personal network. Those come up a lot. I talked about that earlier. There's a lot of different programs here at Dell. We sell some as well as part of our packages. But basically what it'll do is it'll mask your IP and it masks your activity on mobile devices so you can access public Wi-Fi networks safely without a compromise of your data. But long and short, going back to number one, just don't input data on a site that otherwise wouldn't be secure. And in my example, I'm frantic, but I should know better and not do that. So that's the first threat out there. Second one, probably the funniest name in my opinion, but packet sniffing. And what this basically is whenever data is transferred between two sites on the internet, and I'm going to probably butcher it, but kind of simplify, it's lines of code and just little bits of information. They're called packets. So from source to source, if I'm going to send Mona an email, the internet would do its thing and break apart my email into little bits of packet information, and it would travel across cyberspace and then reassemble itself in her inbox, and then she'd see the message. Anyways, those little packets of information can actually be viewed through an unencrypted network from one source to one source. The thing that's tricky about this is it's not technically illegal. There's a lot of internet service providers. There's a lot of people who monitor web traffic for spikes in usage. There's a lot of government entities, things like that, where this is done not in an intrusive way, but to just monitor usage to make sure that there's not throttling within internet environments. And in doing so, it helps kind of keep our web environment clean and functioning properly. But in the hands of a smart hacker, they can actually identify the trends of these packets because each one has kind of a timestamp and a identity stamp of what they are. And they are able to transfer those little bits of information and understand which ones are banking information and which ones are personal identification information. And they're able to follow those to the source or even glean them from the website themselves and reassemble that information on their end and get access to that, whatever I might have sent in the email to Mona. So we just need to be mindful of the fact that just because we push send on something or accept on something, from source to source, our information has the possibility of still being picked up. What you can do with this again, using a strong VPN when you are using a public browsing environment, but more so, be mindful of your URLs. If you will see in the top HTTP, there is an S and some of them, and that you will see when you're being redirected to a secure website, what have you, you'll notice that S pops up. If you are going to be entering any personal information on banking information, whatever. Just make sure that the URL that you are actually accessing is secure, and you can identify that by that S in the URL. That will ensure that it is secure on both ends, and it shouldn't have an issue. Next one, please. Fake Wi-Fi connections. This one is pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to use my airport frantic story, as an example in this one too. But basically, criminals, cyber criminals, can set up fake Wi-Fi connections. When I am running from gate to gate at the Dallas airport, using the same example, perhaps I did not access the public Wi-Fi of the airport correctly. Perhaps it was spelled oh so different, and it looked like the DFW airport, and I just clicked it. Little did I know that I was actually accessing like one of those individuals. People can run Wi-Fi from their public phones, from their mobile devices, things of that nature. It's pretty easy. You can tether and create mobile hotspots. And if I accessed that mobile hotspot thinking it was the airport, free Wi-Fi in this example, what I am basically doing is all of my keystrokes, all of my information, everything that I am doing, I'm basically giving to that person who's running that hotspot. And because I was foolish and I didn't have, protection on my end with a VPN or making sure I was on a secure site or secure Wi-Fi connection, I'm basically just giving them all of that data. So long and short, what you can do is obviously, again, make sure that you're using a secure environment or a secure connection. But this is a little bit more of a personal mindfulness. Look for misspellings, look for connection requirements. A lot of times, if it looks different or feels kind of off, 9 times out of 10 it is. So just sometimes use your brain and make sure that you are connecting to only like legitimately seen Wi-Fi connections, and just do your diligence so you don't have mistakes like I do in this story. Next one, please. So malware through Wi-Fi. The fourth one that we need to be mindful of, not always is it somebody watching our data and trying to get it. Sometimes that they are actually inserting viruses onto our devices. So a lot of times in all of these examples, the insecure Wi-Fi connections, the fake ones that I am using, not going to secure sites, what the smart hackers can do is what they'll not just monitor it, but they will insert a bit of malware onto the device, or through an email. When I get home, I open it up, and then that'll wreak havoc across my network, specifically if it's like a work environment. So it's not just saying, hey, what I'm throwing out there, it is, hey, what I'm bringing in. So ways to get around this is, again, the same, good habits. Be mindful of the connections that you are connecting to. No insecure Wi-Fi connections at all costs, please. But then also your device. And this is the back-end piece that I talked about, making sure that our PCs and our mobile devices have antivirus solutions on them. So worst case scenario, if you do make a mistake and you do, unfortunately give your information and accept a virus, you have a security solution on that device to help clean it up and prevent your PC or mobile device from being wrecked. And a lot of times having that endpoint security, like an antivirus solution, can usually prevent a lot of damage from happening from personal mistakes. And this one is actually pretty self-explanatory, but I think it's probably the thing that a lot of people don't realize or pay attention to, is shoulder surfing. And long and short, using the airport example, because I think that's probably the most pertinent, I sit down and I'm accessing my devices, and I'm hacking into not hacking, but I'm logging into my personal information for my work, and I put my headphones on, and I'm trying to answer a whole bunch of emails before I get on my flight. I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. Cyber criminals who are trained in this are very mindful of this tactic. Well, they'll just sit behind you, and not in a leering way, but just kind of a passive way. And they will memorize your name. They will memorize keystrokes to passwords. They will memorize where you are on. So for example, if I take a break from work, jump on Amazon, and I order, I don't know, paper towels for the house. They will memorize my name. They will look at my address. They will be able to memorize my keystrokes of my Amazon password and how to get in there. And they themselves now have access to not just my Amazon account, but they can pull from it credit card information, personal identification, all kinds of things from it, just because I was not mindful of my surroundings as I was accessing these these typically secure environments. So again, make sure that things what you can do, just be smart. I think first and foremost is anything that is password related, make sure you are in an environment to where no one's watching you put your information in first and foremost. Make sure people around you aren't just staring and leering at you for other reasons, but also for website protection. And then again, if you can, try not to do personal banking when you're on the road or things like that. Just be mindful of the fact that if you avoid websites that contain personal information while you are in a remote environment, it will lessen the potential for those threats to be in existence in your life. So kind of wrapping it all up. A lot there, and again, I apologize if I sped through some of these points here, but we just need to be mindful of safeguarding our online privacy, and ultimately at the end, not just in a work environment, but consumers ourselves. So when we go online, I can easily all 6 of those things articulate that I do. And also all of those things in most cases have some sort of personal identification mark from myself on them, login information, credit card information, with talking with family and friends with the Zoom bombing, things like that. All of these things that we typically do with all of this increased internet usage that we're doing out there contain some sort of personal identification mark of myself on them. So security, again, it's kind of that point. If we're mindful of what we're doing when we interact with these sites, and Tina, you can go ahead to the last slide here. If we are mindful of what we're doing with our best digital practices, we protect ourselves with an antivirus solution on our PCs. We're being mindful of protecting our passwords by using only secure Wi-Fi connections, VPNs to kind of secure your devices as well, should you need to go online. And then just be mindful of just the threats out there in general. We should have a better and a happier environment to where you're protecting yourself online and not putting yourself and your digital footprint at risk. So I think long and short, all of those things, practice good online behavior. Don't connect to insecure Wi-Fi networks, use a VPN, use an antivirus program, and all of those things combined, just being diligent, like a good workout. If you pay attention and you work hard at it every day, your digital footprint should be considerably secure. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Mona because she has some great information as well. And I think it's also time you stopped hearing my voice. I take a drink of coffee. So Mona, why don't you go ahead and grab this?
Hey, Matt, before Mona jumps in, while we're on this topic, thank you for the information. I'm terrified. I appreciate it.
Oh, I didn't mean to scare you. I'm just saying we should all be scared.
I don't think I'll ever use a public Wi-Fi again. So
yeah.
Let me ask a question from a small business owner's perspective.
Certainly.
So let's play on your airport example. Let's say that I own an insurance company. Like I'm an agent. And so not only is it important, I think, for my data to not be transmitted, but I think it's important for those small business owners who are now traveling with their entire office in their laptop bag, so to speak, to be aware that they're protecting not only themselves, but their client information as well. So if I'm a farmer's agent and all of a sudden I've got an hour to kill and I decide to go through and update some client accounts, right? That information is susceptible, yes?
Oh, absolutely. And that's a terrific question to whoever's on the bridge and they ask that. This is something that I drill down with our small business advisors at Dell all the time when I train them on security, because I can talk at length, and I kind of did just now, at, hey, you need antivirus, you need to practice good behaviors. But really, when you are a small business in this example, which is perfect, it's not my information, it's my customer's information. And I'm going to throw a few stats out there that I didn't put out there in the slides. When I train my reps, and they need to be mindful, again, going back to the mobile-minded, most companies now, they have agents in the field, insurance agents or business to business, even using the example Dell Travel. I see so many people using, myself included, accessing my Salesforce accounts, accessing my logging between my clients and customers on my mobile devices and things like that. So to this point, if I am not practicing good scrubbing, clean web behavior, my entire customer roster could be at risk. And using a Salesforce example specifically, if I am accessing and using Salesforce in this man-in-the-middle example, or a packet sniffing example, or even shoulder surfing, because I have people here who are sitting and watching me use my device, I am throwing out all of my customer data out there. And the talking points that I wanted to get at, and I share this in the training, is most cyber threats for businesses, for small businesses, happen to small businesses because they're easily accessible compared to some of the larger corporations that I highlighted at the very beginning. So we need to be more mindful as small business owners to make sure our employees are aware of how to protect the environment, because it is their customer data, but what it can do to the business if a threat happens. And please don't quote me on these numbers, but I know around 60 to 70% of small businesses go out of business because of a large threat within 6 or 7 months of it happening. And the reason being is it's not because of all the information of their customers gets taken and harvested by a hacker. It is very expensive to get all that information back. Hopefully a small business has insurance to kind of help with all of their customer database getting, harvested by a hacker, personal identification numbers and everything given back. So there's a lot of litigation costs that go along with that. But more importantly, a lot of times why these small businesses go out of business is because their customers don't come back. So even if a small business has a threat and they handle it the best way they can with their customers, I'm not going to using the example of an insurance broker, I'm not going to do business with an insurance company that does not protect my personal identification and my numbers. And a lot of times you'll get a bad Yelp review or what have you, and it can derail a company very quickly. So I don't know if that's a long-winded way of answering that question, but hopefully I did.
Yes, I think it's just about kind of reminding us to be mindful. It's not only our
Yes.
data that we're protecting, but it's our
Yes.
client data, it's our customer data.
100%.
Okay, so I will get out of the way and let Mona do her thing.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Tina. All right, so I just want to take a few minutes to kind of go over with everyone that's part of the chamber as far as the benefits that you get, in case you were not aware of them. So really quick about me, I have been with Dell for a little over 4 years now. I help manage the different partnerships that we have with the different associations. If anybody needs to get in touch with me, feel free to email me. My contact information is right there at the bottom. It's Mona_Beschlaga, which is spelled BESLEAGA@Dell.com. All right, Tina, if you don't mind going to the next page. So this just kind of shows you guys a quick glimpse of the benefits. One of the things that you do get is you get stackable. It's actually 8 to 10% now on Dell branded equipment. Especially right now this week, we're running a promotion where the partners do get an additional 10% off of most select Dell equipment. So definitely feel free to take advantage of that. You guys can either reach out to me directly or you can contact our team at any time and they'll be able to give you those discounts as well. The second option that we offer as part of the benefits is the Dell Financial Services. So this is our own in-line of credit that we have here at Dell. We have credit or we have leasing terms available as well. But right now we're offering everybody 6 months no interest if paid in full to kind of help with COVID and everything else that's going on, kind of give you a little bit more time on those payments.
Nice.
The third thing that we have is a dedicated web page, and I'll kind of show you a glimpse of this on the next page, but this kind of just shows you where you can go directly to the dedicated page if you want to access your benefits and you don't want to call in. But in there, it'll actually allow you to access your coupons and then do your purchases online if you prefer. The fourth portion, this is our small business advisors. So I am located out of the Nashville location, but out of Nashville and Austin, we have over 450 different tech advisors, and I work with most of them directly. So if anybody needs assistance with their business or just as far as any questions of what would work best for your business, let us know and I can get you in contact with someone directly. This way you don't have to go through actually calling in and getting a different person every time. You'll work with this dedicated advisor every single time and they have a custom solution for your business. And then the last portion, this is kind of fairly new and there's been a little bit changes since COVID, but this is the partner outreach program. So our team actually can do an on-site visit to your business and give you a complimentary audit, tech audit. So we can kind of take a look to see what you're using, what your business needs to grow, and give you the best option for it. Now, I know it's a little weird now with COVID, a lot of people are not traveling. We still do offer this, but it's more of a virtual type of assistance. So we would be able to do like a Zoom call or any type of virtual call that you guys need, where we can still take a look at your building and everything that you're using and give you a good audit. And then Tina, if you don't want to go to the next page. Okay. So this is the website that I was referring to earlier. So since you guys are out of Austin, out of Austin, we do have other chambers as well that are part of the chapters, actually part of NGLCC. So anytime that you need anything, you would go directly to this page. So it's dell.com/NGLCC. And then you can kind of see right there in the middle, it says get coupon. You can select that and you put in your email address and it'll immediately send you over the coupon that you can use to do your purchase online. But also whenever you go further down on the page, it'll give you a contact number too if you prefer to speak to somebody directly. And then on the next page, this is a quick glimpse of the partner outreach program, just kind of showing you guys that we did do the on-site consultations and then we do a free tech audit. And then on the very last page, this kind of shows you a quick glimpse of how to access that. So if you would like someone to actually give you a call and do a free tech audit, feel free to go to this website. You just go to dell.com/outreach. And over there on the right-hand side, you can see where it has the full fill-out form. You would just put in your name, your business type, and then we'll give you a call directly to get that scheduled for you guys. And that is all. That's all I have. Thank you guys for giving me just a few minutes to go over that.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
I think for cities like Austin and Nashville, where we have the luxury of having brands like yours in our backyard, sometimes we take for granted that as a small business owner that it's too big, right? And there's this sense of, oh, well, they're a gigantic international company. Why do they care about my small insurance brokerage? But that is precisely why you're here.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important that message is translated to a small business owner and mid-sized business owner out there, that Dell is here on the ground with you, and we are fingertips away. And I think going over from what Matt talked about with all of the cybersecurity issues, I think if you don't have a VPN and you don't know what that stands for, you best get one, and you better contact your Dell rep to find out how to do that.
You're right.
It is a completely different time that we're living in, and really not trying to make it sound like a commercial, but this is the time when you reach out and you make those relationships with your bankers, with your agents, with your technology providers, even more so now than we have in the past. So I thank you guys very much for sharing of your time. For those of you who are on the call, thank you for joining us. Those of you who are rewatching it on the webinar from our website, thank you for doing that as well. If you need anybody's contact information, please let our chamber know. We're happy to put you in contact with Mona or Matt at any time. Thank you guys very much. We really appreciate the afternoon.
Thank you,
Thank
Tina.
you for the
We
time.
appreciate your time.
Appreciate it,
Thanks,
everybody.
guys.